Hey everyone. So a few hours ago, Spirit came to me and told me it was time to share an experience that I went through in my life that was very difficult for me. This is probably going to be one of the most difficult videos I've ever made, but now's the time. I knew I was going to have to tell this story in one way or another, but didn't know when. And I'm all about divine timing, and Spirit is so good at letting me know. And they would let me know like 3 hours before I'm gonna have to do it, because if they told me before like I was gonna make this video today, I probably would have got so anxious about it I wouldn't have even made it. So here it goes. What this video about is basically transcending abuse and fear in like domestic abusive relationships. And so for me, when I was a kid, I witnessed a lot of abuse. I basically watched my mom get physically, emotionally, and verbally abused my whole life and even into adulthood. And so I guess like at the time, you're just like as a child, you absorb so much and you're like feeling your mother almost as it's happening, like feeling all those things she's feeling, like you're in that atmosphere of it. And so for me, what I didn't understand going into adulthood was that it would carry with me, like that would affect me the way it did, and I didn't even realize it was because I was so unconscious at the time. And so it got to a point when I was 17, my mom was with a boyfriend at the time. She's been married 4 times, and when I was younger, she was either married or with a boyfriend. She was always in one relationship after the other, very codependent. And so this specific boyfriend she was with at the time, like he was like probably one of the most physically abusive. There was another man she was married to that was pretty physically abusive, but like he like pretty much encompassed every aspect of abuse when it came to her. And so there was one day, and I'm 17 years old. I'm in high school. And I might have been 18. It was my senior year of high school. So early that year, I turned 18. Anyways, I just remember him in the kitchen. And, like, I'm in the other room. And I don't want to see it. I didn't even want to, like, be around it that day. But it got to the point where I just got so pissed that he was in there, and he had my mom pinned against the kitchen floor. And I was just like, I told him, like, get your fucking hands off her. I was like cursing at him, telling him to leave her alone. And usually I just like let it happen because my mom like was so deep in that domestic abuse that she defend the person who abuses her. So like with people who are that deep in the trauma, like if you try to help them, it backfires because they have to want to help them. And so that day, and then he was like, come here, you're next. And he had never hit me before. Nobody that's abused my mom has abused me. And so that she's been with in a relationship or anything like that. So, thank God for that. But in that moment, I was like, no, like why I'm even here right now? Like, I can leave if I want to leave. Like, you can't make me stay just because I'm still in my last year of high school. Like, so at the time, I packed all my bags. Like, right then and that moment, my mom was like crying and begging me not to leave the house. And I was like, no, I'm gonna leave. And I went and I lived with my boyfriend. He was in college in the same city that I lived in. And so I was very codependent with my boyfriend, and he was great. Like, he was a good man. He never called me out of my name. He never hit me, anything like that. He was a good person. But it didn't work out because we both had our own, how we have all these people come into our lives because we have certain lessons we need to learn. We have certain karma we need to clear. Well, he had his karma, I had mine, and the purpose of our relationship on a spiritual level was to teach each other certain lessons. So eventually, we were together for 4 years. I got married when I was 19. Eventually, I found out he was cheating on me, and it was devastating. It was like so devastating. It was like my first true heartbreak it was probably my only heartbreak, if I think about it, in relationships. Like, I don't think anyone else has really broken my heart. I felt like my heart was broken, you know? And so when that happened, like, I just spiraled out of control, you know? And I was by myself. But the thing of it was, it wasn't like I was like this person who grew up in such bad circumstances that I was like super irresponsible and just like my whole life was shit. It wasn't like that. I ended up getting my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, all that through all of these things that I was going through emotionally. I played basketball in college. Eventually, I wasn't able to keep playing. I quit, but it was more because like I couldn't focus on something that took up that much of my attention and time when I was so internally messed up and needed healing. And so I ended up quitting whatever basketball. I ended up getting divorced and like going through this really dark night for me, you know? And so I spiraled out of control after that. I eventually ended up getting pregnant, and I wasn't in a relationship at the time. And so my oldest son is not from my husband. He's from when I was younger. I had him when I was 22. So I had him when I was in college, and I was single at the time. So it was just me and my buddy. But I was single when I got pregnant with him, but then I met the person that I'm about to tell this story about from my experience. So I met this person, and I was like 3 months pregnant, and he was like the nicest guy ever. He seemed like a great guy. I remember him he went to a different high school than me, but I remember of him through like other people and stuff. And I knew people who knew him, and he played basketball and his honor roll. We would volunteer. He used to teach kids like karate and stuff. Like, he was very active and very seen in a positive light in the community. I'll say that. So I was like, oh my gosh, like this great guy comes in. I'm pregnant. He still wants to be with me and step up to the plate. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking, he's great, you know? So we decide to be together. And he's there for me through the birth of my child and everything. And something happened after I had my son, and we were still together. And all of a sudden, he started changing. Like, I kind of saw little bits, red flags here and there throughout that first, 7 months or so, 6 months or so. But then he started changing, and he started to become very verbally abusive. And he would never like punch me or hit me or anything, but he would like grab me or like grab my face and like stuff like that, and like get really mean and aggressive and stuff. And so there was this one day, it was like my son woke up, and I was still nursing him. So I had just nursed him and rocked him back to sleep, and I was just like holding him on the couch. And the person I was with at the time, he had drank a little too much. So you could like tell and he was like triggered about something, but I don't even know what it was. And so he said something to me, and then I don't know, I must have said something that just was not the right thing because it made it worse. But we weren't arguing or anything. Like, I've never been a very argumentative person, like in a relationship. But anyways, he went off. And so then all of a sudden he goes to the closet and he gets his gun out. He was in the police academy at the time. So the worst freaking part about all that was like, I had like a little, you get those refund checks in college. I had a little extra money, and I helped him buy his supplies for the police academy, which means I literally helped him purchase the gun that he then threatened me with. But anyway, so he goes and gets the gun out. He puts like the magazine, the bullets in the gun, and, gets it all ready. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sitting there holding my baby. I'm holding my like 3-month-old baby. And like, there's so much guilt tied to that, and I'll talk about that after I'm done telling this. But so I'm sitting there holding the baby, and like, he doesn't advertently point the gun at me. He just like scares me by getting it all. Like, I felt like it was like I don't know. I didn't know if he was going to do something with it, but it felt like he could. But at the same time, I was like, okay, he's not going to do anything. I started to try to like talk him down, but he was like, if you ever leave me, like, I'll kill you and I'll kill myself and all this kind of stuff. And so I was just scared and trying to talk him down. And eventually I, calmed him down enough where he went to the other room, and I hurried up and called his mom to get her to come over and help calm him down, which eventually did work. So then after that, it was just like worse and worse and worse. Like, I don't even want to like go through all the times because I don't want to. It was weird. When Spirit told me 3 hours ago that I needed to tell this story, I was like, the entire 3 hours while I was like trying to like timeline it out so I wouldn't like get mixed up in the story and like have a little outline so I can make this video, I was crying through most of the whole thing. And I was like, how am I going to make this video, Spirit? How am I going to make this video if I can't keep it together enough to tell the story? And so I said a prayer before I got on here, and I was like, Spirit, a little bit of tears is fine, but please make it so I can like verbally communicate this to people so they, this message could come forth. Because what's really important is what's at the end of this video, what I have to say, not even the story, but it's like, here I am. Like, I don't feel like I want to burst out into tears. I feel like I just want to reach anyone I can to help them heal who's going through the similar kind of situation or dealing with trauma from a similar type of situation. And so that happens. And the funny thing is, like, I watched my mom get abused my whole life. And I was always like, that will never happen to me. Like, I wish somebody would put their hands on me. Like, square up, I was an athlete, so I always like thought of myself as tough. Like, the crazy thing is, like, my mom is like 5'11" and a strong woman, and it didn't matter. It's not about those things. Like, it's so psychological. And so here I was sitting in it. Like, the one thing I said I would never let happen to me was happening to me. And so it took some time. Like, he was like the type that was like regularly, like certain periods throughout the day, checking my phone records, seeing who I was texting, seeing who I was calling, seeing if there were numbers that popped up on my phone records that he didn't know. And then he'd be like, who did you talk to at so-and-so afternoon? And that's how it got after I had my son. It was like, okay, now I have her trapped because I'm here in it. Like, I went through this important experience with her, and it was very scary. And so I did end up leaving. And basically, it wasn't hard to get him to like leave and move out after everything kind of blew up. And I was like, I'm so done and blah, blah, blah. Because it was like, his ego was like, if somebody doesn't want me, I don't want them, because like at the end of the day, like, hurt people. And that's why he was hurting me, because of his own personal experiences. And so I'm like super hot right now. That's how I get when I make all videos. I don't know why. That's why I have a tank top on the freaking winter. But anyways, okay. So what happened was, after that, I had like a hard time because I was still sitting in the fear. I had nightmares where literally he would be holding me down, burning my face with a curling iron. Or I would be driving around, and if I saw a vehicle that was like the same make and color as his, I would just go into straight panic attack. So it was like these fears that would come up for me. And it was like, okay, even though I wasn't like on my awakening path at that time, I still knew like there was some type of like spiritual prayer or something I needed to do to release that, to really release that. So what I ended up doing back then, before I was even really like into spirituality, was just like proclaiming that I forgive him, because I knew forgiveness meant something, And when I did that, I kind of stopped having the dreams. I moved away from home. I ended up meeting, my ex-husband, who I recently got a divorce from, who I have my 3 children with. Like, I met him, and he was so safe. And the thing of it is, that's like the perfect example of getting into a relationship for the wrong reasons. So he was like the type of, he would never, like, he was almost like my first codependent relationship. He would never put his hands on me. He would never call me out my name. Very just that soft, gentle energy. And for me, it was like, I don't even care if we have that much in common. We could work on that, like, because he's not going to hurt me. He's not going to hurt my son. You know what I mean? Like, I trust this. And so because of that, was like, hopped into that relationship, and it ended up going on for 7 years, and having my beautiful children. So in no way do I regret that. In a million ways it served its purpose. I could go on a million tangents on how I grew from that relationship, but it's like, because of the other relationship, it's like it shows you how your choices in past relationships make these determinations for what your next relationship is going to be like. Next relationship. That's why it's so important to be fully healed before you even get into a relationship. And of course I didn't know this at the time, and of course I forgive myself, and I felt so like judged, even though I don't think that many people were really judging me, because I wasn't very, like, I didn't have a huge social circle. I've always been an introvert. So because I had been married more than once and stuff like that, like, I battled with that for a long time, like feeling like a failure. Like, you're failing, now you're failing that again. Like, what the hell, Kelsey? You know, like, and there's a lot of, it's a self-worth thing. It was a self-worth thing. And finally I was like, I don't give a crap. Look where I am now. Like, I'm happy. I'm finally happy, and I understand and appreciate those lessons, you know? And so, but I still carried a little bit of that fear with me. And so, like, for instance, like, I can't, like, play around with someone and they, like, grab both of my hands, or like get pushed down or anything like that. I'll straight, like, whoosh, that fear will come over me. Or if somebody looks at me in a certain way and I'm like, oh my God, I've seen that. I've seen somebody look at me like that before, and they told me they were going to kill me. And I've seen people look at, like, my mom like that before. And so, like, there's certain things that still trigger me, but it's not near what it was. Guns trigger me. And the thing that it was is, like, I grew up in the country. My whole family were like hunted and stuff like that. I shot shotguns when I was a kid. I had no fear of guns until that incident. And now it's like, I see one on somebody's hip, you know, open carry, which is fine, defend yourself. Like, I'm not going to sit here and get political about anything, because I really, you know, as long as nobody's hurting anyone else and you want to defend yourself, that's fine. It's just like, I'm so triggered by it now because of what happened to me. I still am to this day, and I'm working on, you know, some of those traumas still. So anyways, that forgiveness is the point I was trying to make. Like, I did forgive him before, like, a while ago, like a few years ago. And eventually you get to this vibration where you put yourself in another's shoes. It's like your new default vibration. So, like, you look at someone in your past who may have hurt you or embarrassed you, or, I mean, the list goes on. And you literally can't look at them like you don't like them anymore, or you see them in a certain judgmental light. You can't even do that anymore, because you always come back to, why would they do that? Why would they feel this way? Why would they treat me that way? And you think about why they would do it, because of what's hurting them internally. Excuse me. So, like, you get to a point vibrationally on this spiritual journey where it's like less judgment and more understanding. And so once I got to that point, it was like I had released a lot, but it made me want to help him. And when I say him, because I'm not going to use his name, I don't want to use anyone's names in my videos, but I do have this experience and I'm going to share it. So, and I didn't even share one of the craziest parts of that story, but I wanted to help him heal is what I was going to just say. I just want to come back to that one, the individual who I was dating who was abusive. About a year after I left and we split up, all of a sudden I started getting all these phone calls one day. I was like, what? Like, why is everyone calling me? So I get shown this newspaper heading that says suspicious suicide, right? And apparently the girlfriend that he was dating after me, that he was in a relationship, who also had a little baby. He started dating her while she was pregnant. She committed suicide with his gun in his house, and he was there. And so, the police found it suspicious. I ended up being called to the police station, being interviewed about it. And, all I could do was tell them what happened with me. And that's not enough to, convict somebody of murder. But rumor had it was that they didn't have enough evidence to convict him. And so I guess sometimes they give them this option of the military. I don't know. I just heard like a bunch of rumors, but everyone was like, I was so scared the day that she died, because I was like, is he spiraling right now? Now he's going to come back and get everybody else he ever was with, It was a scary day for me, but it was just like a day where I was just like, whoa, that could have been me. And like to this day, like I just feel so horrible that a person had to lose their life over somebody's trauma, that they projected on them to the degree where somebody had to lose their life. And the reason it wasn't me is because I was brave enough to leave, and it did take me a couple months after that incident to leave. It was like a month or two. I don't know, but come back full circle. And I want to help people heal. Because like when somebody can instill that fear into you, that means that they have it themselves and they got it from somewhere, and they experienced that fear that you're feeling right now. And I think it takes a person who wants to heal, a person with an open heart, a person who has a higher vibration, to really still open their heart to somebody who like threatened their life or abused them or whatever. And I think when we're holding on to those traumas, we're holding on to like wanting them to be punished, and we're holding on to like just like this hate in our heart, and this like, I don't know, like all those feelings that come with that, it comes to a point where you realize that you're holding on to it still. If you can't let go and forgive and like truly want healing for that other person, you're carrying that with you. And that's dense, and it holds you down, and it makes you project those same things onto other people. So I've been telling you guys, we've been watching my recent videos, that I've been dealing with anger. And Spirit told me, like, you are clearing a lot of divine masculine, for the divine masculine collective, a lot of anger in that area. You were also chose these bloodlines that hold a lot of anger that you needed to transmute that for. And you did get anger from the trauma you experienced. Like, you received it. Like, even through having that physical intercourse with an individual in that relationship who held all that anger, you were taking some of that angry energy on. But Spirit said the beautiful part of that, because you look at that and you think, oh, that's so negative. But the beautiful part of that is that now that you're conscious and you're able to see what it is like what it is for. I don't know. There was like something, it didn't flow out right. But anyways, now that you're able to see what it is, you can not only transmute it for yourself and heal it for yourself and release it for yourself, but you release it for that person who gave it to you. So and I know he got married after that, and he's probably been in other relationships after that. And like, all I can think about is like, don't do it to somebody else. Just don't do it to somebody else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and consciously he doesn't even realize, like when you're wrapped up in all that anger, like and you're not spiritually sound, like, like you think that you're not doing anything wrong. You think it's the other person. you always, when you're projecting on somebody and you're accusing somebody, you always think it's the other person. Like, anytime you're projecting, it's you. Anytime. So anyways, that anger is also from him, and I'm able to help him heal, and I'm able to help anyone who listens to this video and is like, holy shit, something like that happened to me. And I can sit here and consciously look at it in a different way and release it and heal it. And I was watching Amanda Ellis release a video this morning before I even knew that I was going to make this video today. And she channeled the energy of Julian Assange, who is currently imprisoned for outing. I mean, you guys are familiar with him. If you're not, Google him. For basically outing, you know, the toxic powers at be. Like, he was like leaking all types of information, all that WikiLeaks stuff. Anyways, she, you know, she channeled him, found out he's, you know, he's a star seed, and like, he literally chose that. He chose to be sitting in a jail cell right now. Like, and it really puts into perspective these missions that we choose as light workers. Like, my ego doesn't want to tell this story. My ego wants to protect my identity. My ego doesn't want people to know I was married more than once. My ego doesn't even want people to know that I went through something that was difficult. I don't want people to know anything about my personal life. But all it is this avatar, Kelsey, that I use to come in. I use this as a tool to come in and help people heal. So why would I hide? Like, Julian Assange is sitting in a jail cell. Like, he's like that sacrificial type of energy that Amanda Ellis was talking about in her video this morning, to come through and say, I have a mission here, and that specific mission requires this, and I'm choosing this. He chose that before he came here, and I chose this before I came here. And so the reason I chose it is so I could help others heal. And so here I am on this camera. Thank you, Spirit, for allowing me to get through this video with no tears, because I know I'm sitting here on my mission right now talking to you. This is part of it. You know, there's a lot of different aspects of my life I felt fearful to talk about. There's still more I haven't even talked about, and I'm sure Spirit will, in divine timing, want me to open up and share things about myself. I'm not saying it's like you should, every single person should come out and like say everything, because like, first of all, a lot of people aren't ready for that. You have to be able to come on a video and show people how to heal. Then you have to know that you've healed from it, and it won't even bother you that anyone knows anything like that about you. And they're not going to judge you anyways. They're going to look at you and say, you're brave. You're brave for being able to come on and talk to people about horrible things that have happened to you. Think about Teal Swan. I'm just going to bring up a few people that have done this. Teal Swan, who was like literally physically abused as a child and molested and all this stuff, and been married 3 times, all of that. And she's so healed. She's healed herself and transcended to a certain point that it doesn't even faze her to tell her story. Why? Because she doesn't hold on to that dense energy anymore. Feel Good. He went in a psych ward when he woke up. Like, who would ever want to come on and be like, yeah, I used to have a shrink. You know what I mean? I used to take meds for years. Phil doesn't care because he healed himself. Like, once you stop judging yourself, you won't care about others' judgments of you, and they won't even judge you. They'll look at you like, holy shit. Like, they just shared a really serious story, and look how they turned out. They look pretty damn happy. They look pretty damn connected to their higher self. And so this is less about like, oh, I want to connect with every single person who's gone through domestic abuse. No, I want to connect with every single person who's gone through anything traumatic and say, once you can heal yourself and share your story, it's the most liberating thing ever. And you're healing for bloodlines. You're healing for collective energies. you don't even know what you're doing. Like, people come in here and think that how significant of a impact could they make? How significant could one little person make? Oh my gosh, if you heal yourself, if you really understand how this quantum universe works, you'd realize when you heal yourself, you're healing millions. We're connected, people. Like, don't be afraid to even like just say out loud what happened to you. You don't even have to be another person in the room. Just say it out loud. Sometimes, like, for me, and I'm like trying to work through something, Lance, my boyfriend, will just sit there and he'll just let me talk. And I'll just keep talking and talking and talking. And eventually, you'll see I'll start, because I'm saying it out loud, I'm working through this thing that happened or whatever I'm upset about. I'm working through it, and I'm bringing in so many different perspectives that I'm becoming so conscious of it that I'm observing it to the point where I'm healing it. It's like it can't even be that stuck program in my head anymore because I've seen it from so many different perspectives. I can't just be so addicted to that one perspective that's holding me back and keeping it inside of me. And there's these little things that we learn along the way about healing and observing ourselves and just acknowledging that things exist, that there are things within us that we need to work on, and there always will be. And that's why we chose to come in here, so we could advance our soul in that way. I really hope that helps some of you guys. I know I was a little jumbled in the beginning because telling that story is just like, I don't even think about that anymore because I've healed that. But it came up today because I knew at one point I was going to have to talk about it. And Spirit brought it up today while I'm at the gym and I'm just sitting there. I went and sat down in the locker room and I'm like, and all of a sudden my eyes started to well up with tears and I was just like, today, like, how do I say this? I'm going to put an outline. Like, I was just like starting to panic a little bit, but then owning it at the same time because I knew I'd already healed it. We're here on our missions. If you experience something, it's probably because so have a lot of other people. And if you can get to that point where you experience true healing and you wish that healing on the other person who may have hurt you or whatever the situation is, and you release that crap you're holding on to, then you can really like dive into your mission. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're sitting here like me on a video expressing yourself. That could mean that you have your own practice, like healing practice, or that could mean you work a 9-to-5 job, but you love that job because you're a nurse and you love people and you just want to nurture. Everybody's mission looks different. But the most important mission of them all is just healing yourself. There's nothing you have to do. All you have to do is just recognize where you need to heal. That recognition is the healing. And so it's like some people have gone through a trauma, but they don't even see how they're traumatized. Or they've been looking at this situation from one point of view for so long, this victim point of view, that they haven't been able to really become the observer enough about it to see it in that many perceptions, to be able to release that one big way they always looked at it. I was abused. I was raped. I was, my dad died. I don't know. There's so many different ways that we can experience trauma in your life. And once you can just release that victim mentality that is tied to it. Like if you first meet somebody, is that the first story you tell? If that's the first story you tell, then you're letting your trauma define you. And I think that Spirit wanted this to be the divine timing of me talking about this specific subject, because right now the deepest, darkest shit is coming up for people. Because the shift, it's 2020. Like, there's so much astrology and numerology and energy tied to these times. And if you're sitting here watching my video, you're here to heal and help everyone around you heal. And the best way to do that is to just heal yourself. You don't have to, like, be the person who gets on a video and just explodes all their trauma to help people understand from a different perspective. All you could do it in your private space, and you're still healing for the bloodlines, for the collectives, for yourself, for your family, for your kids, for those who suffered before you, and for those in the future. Now your children don't have to carry this in their DNA and carry out these cycles. It's so deep. It's all so deep. And I think we beat up on ourselves because we think we need to be doing something. But the most simplest thing that needs to be done is just recognizing where we're hurting and mastering a perspective that releases that hurt and is in alignment with your higher self. And it just encompasses love and opening our hearts to want that for other people, to want to forgive people who hurt us. You guys are so powerful. Like, you probably do realize. I don't even want to say you don't even realize. You probably do realize how powerful you are. And I'm just here to encourage you to, like, get out there and just own that power. Just immerse yourself in that love and that light to the point where you're just a walking healer. People walk around you and they just feel your aura, and it is just so filled with love and light that they can't help but feel it. And then the universe is going to give them an opportunity to feel that for themselves. So I hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope that, this message came through and it was for, the right people at the right time. Every time before I make a video, I always connect with spirit and clear the energy and, make sure everything that's coming through is the highest good for everyone. And I put the intention out that when I have a message to send, that those who need to hear it do hear it. And so really my intention with this video right now, before I, sign off here, is to send the most insane amount of white light and love to all those people who have hurt me in my past, and for all of those bloodlines of anger and hurt, and the entire collective, and all of you who watch me. Like, I send you so much love and healing right now. There is no situation that you can't transcend, that you can't alchemize with love. And that is the truth. And no matter how justified you feel in disliking or judging a person, it will never be the answer. Love will always be the answer, every single time. So I'm sending you guys love and light, and I hope you have an amazing day.